Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the February Board of Estimate Taxation meeting. I'd like to call the meeting to order and start with a pledge to the flag of our country. Where is it? Up. Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So they moved the flags on us, and that was our first turn. Good evening, everyone. Welcome, welcome. I'd like to start with our item number 2, our routine applications, and I'd call on Mr. Drake, our clerk, for
Our routine application this month is item CC1 from the Conservation Commission of $20,000, which is an approval to use funds for a composting and recycling project.
Okay. Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstaining? That item is carried 12-0. That brings us to our non-routine application, and I will call on Mr. Lash, Chair of the Budget Committee.
NW2, the Nathaniel Witherall release of conditions, $600,000. The Budget Committee heard from the Nathaniel Witherall, its regularly scheduled meeting. Was updated on the recent performance as well as some issues related to their upcoming budget requests, and voted 4-0 in favor of releasing the conditions.
Okay. Can I get a second on that? Seconded by Ms. Turkington. Okay, discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstaining? 12-0. Continue.
ED5, the Board of Education, again, release of conditions on $977,155 of temporary salaries.
Item has been moved on behalf of the Budget Committee. Do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Ms. Kiernan. Mr. Geiger, before I have committee reports, did you have a slight change in this item?
The condition for it asks school board to come in quarterly, and the request is for the balance of the amount outstanding after the release of the first quarter. So the amount should be $325,000.
Thank you. So if, the item that's been moved, the number correction now is $325,000. Committee,
I would move that change, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, Mr. Lash?
So the Budget Committee heard from the Board of Ed and had a good discussion and voted 4-0 to release the condition.
Okay, discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstaining? That item is carried 12-0-0.
Item SE2, an item from the First Selectman's Office, $60,250 for an additional appropriation for temporary salaries. These are related to the operation of the Harbor Commission and the Harbor Master's Office.
Second.
Items is moved and seconded. And committee report.
So the committee again heard in some detail concerning this item. There was some discussion about the timing of it. This is intended to finance those operations for fiscal 16-17 and is the beginning of the process of getting what eventually will be the new harbor management operation on the same cycle as the rest of the town's budget. This money comes from the fund, which is replenished from year to year by the mooring fees. We voted 4-0 for this.
Discussion on this item? I see Mr. Mazza, Chairman of the Harbor Masters Committee, is here. Welcome, good evening. Good to see you. So this is one of our, Peter, just so a little bit of TV land understands, this is one of our RRR funds. This is not a general fund. Fees are collected, they go in there, they don't lapse. They get appropriated like a normal, any other appropriation in town. And they're working on the harbor management study. So what we're trying to do is they're on a calendar year, not our fiscal year, so we're trying to convert them over to be.
It's
Technically, it's out of the F fund, which is a grant fund. It's a line item, triple R, like the shellfish monies that we collect and the asset forfeiture accounts, and the monies don't lapse. That's why it's on the balance sheet as a triple R. Triple R stands for Reserve for Restricted Receipts. One of the requirements of the Finance Department is that we require authorization, usually from, not usually, from someone from the First Selectman's Office. Crary, for a number of years, approved the request for payment. Now, Ben Branyan will be doing that.
Okay, thank you. Further discussion? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstaining? That item is carried 12-0-0. You could tell everybody's trying to get home with 2 days of budget coming. That brings us to the assessor's report. Good evening.
Good evening. Okay, I'd like to present the assessor's report for February 2016. First, as far as reval is concerned, we have finished our residential hearings. Our last hearing was on Saturday, February 6th for residential properties. And for condominiums and commercial properties, our last hearings were last week on Wednesday and Thursday. Presently, we are finalizing any changes from those informal hearings, and we should have our final numbers and finalizing the grand list by the end of next week.
Wow. How many total hearings did you have?
We had 1,065 residential, we had 145 condos, and 73 commercial.
Wow.
When does the Board of Assessment Appeals hearings begin?
They're probably going to begin the 1st of April. They have to March 21st to submit an application. It'll probably take them a week or two to schedule all those hearings, so I think they're probably planning to do that the first week of April, and they should be finalizing their hearings within the month of April.
I know where the chairman is. We're going to have dinner together next week.
Oh,
Just a quick question, Lauren. How did the volume of hearings compare to the prior reval? Is that about the same or more? Just a ballpark, I mean.
for your 2010, you're on par, but your grand list went down in 2010. For 2005, we're about half. You had over 2,000. So, and that's when your grand list went up. So I think we did, and we also extended them for 3 months. We had November, actually for 4, November, December, January, and February. We extended your hearing process more than you've ever had it done before. So hopefully we'll resolve a lot of these issues prior to the Board of Assessment Appeals. Okay. Also,
I was just going to add, in addition, you held Saturday and evening hearings, which I think is a first, to try and, accommodate the public, to a great extent. So I think that was very helpful.
And kudos to the assessor for taking the time to do that.
was here a few nights, but that's okay. It comes with the territory. Happy that it's almost done. As far as other business in our office, our senior applications, we mailed those out last week, so we will be accepting, we've already started accepting applications, and those applications are due to us by May 15th. Okay, any other questions?
Stormont in the court.
I know, so it was status quo, I'm afraid.
So I move that we accept.
Did you have a question?
No.
Oh. Ms. Carkington?
So I move that we accept the assessor's report.
I second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? That item is carried 12-0. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
That brings us to the controller's report.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, BET members. You have a copy of the Controller's report. I'll answer questions, but I'll just say that the subject that took up the least amount of space on the Controller's report, the annual budget process, actually took up the most of our time in the last couple of weeks. I can see we're about halfway there, and it's going pretty smoothly and pretty quickly. But I'll answer any questions in the report, and I apologize for not getting it out by Friday.
I move to accept.
One second. First question, you have FEMA reimbursements.
Yeah.
That million, that'll be in this current fiscal year?
Hopefully.
Yes. We got up to 60 days after June 30th to accrue it and bring it back. We're trying, as Art just said, we expect it.
So
Summer.
that could change fund balance by over $1 million.
There's a net, that we're not going to get all that.
That's, yeah. That's probably all monies that it's eligible, and I'm looking at the Treasury report, which is the next topic. We've got $7.9 million in the capital and non-recurring. I believe all the projects listed are going to be reimbursed back to the capital non-recurring because they're projects like Island Beach and the marinas and the Greenwich Point.
So it'll go to capital non-recurring,
It'll
so,
That fund balance, yes.
so the Budget Committee is working with an anticipated balance for the close of this year, start of the next. So this would be an add.
Maybe.
If we get it, yes.
And it's also, there's going to be a net payment because of an overpayment that took place in the last fiscal year. So not all of this, even though we're entitled to this, we owe the federal government something.
How much is that?
I think it was about 500,000.
Okay, so it's not much. Okay. Ms. Weisser?
I just, Pete, in your report, you talked about ADP, and I think, we're all happy to see now that it's been about a year and a half that we're sort of past the implementation phase. The payroll is working well, vendor payments are working well, and at the HR committee this past month, we had a report from the consultant, a presentation from her, and it talked about the ADP the report function. And I think it's very interesting to see what ADP can be used beyond just processing payroll. I was fascinated they could do an analysis of overtime, they can do an analysis of, the FEMA report going forward. If we were to have another storm like that, you would be able to basically do that all through the payroll function and well as link equipment. So as I look at sort of what was a major investment for the town, I think we can look back and say not only is it doing sort of the core function, but over hopefully the next year, we're going to start to see the senior management of the town really accessing this information and using it to manage their operations. So, I'm looking forward to seeing that next phase. And, thank you and your team for all the support to get us to where we are.
Okay, you're welcome, and I agree with your comments.
One more very small question. All the good work was done on Parsonage Cottage and decisions were made. What's the very last step of documentation that needs to be done?
The law department is working with Parsonage Cottage leadership still to finalize language. I think the ball's in their court right now. Ms. Tarkington and I have been working with Amin Ahmad, Assistant Town Attorney, on this, and we're hoping for finalization of language and execution of the documents very soon.
Thank you very much.
Yep.
Anyone else? I'll entertain a motion to accept the comptroller's report. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay. Leads us to item number 5, acceptance of the treasurer's report.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Moved, do I have a second? Second, moved by Mr. Norton, seconded by Ms. Tarkington. Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstaining? That item is carried. BET Standing Committee reports. I have one box that's not there, but I have a report from the Investment Advisory Committee. Mr. Drake?
We're continue to work productively on the BET procedure for the approval of retirement board investment agreements. I think there's been great cooperation from everybody at the table, nearly everybody at the table. Many good contributions have been made, and we're trying to reflect them all. I think I'm just a guy in the center passing the basketball around, but it's headed in a good direction. And the final item I think that we're all thinking about is just what should it say about routine investments in publicly traded securities, which is a little bit of an added twist, but we'll all think through together with your help the right language that fits there. But this is headed in a good direction. Thank you, everyone, for the support for this needed thing, and I think you could expect to see it at the March BET meeting.
So, thank you. I would encourage everyone to expect it at the March meeting and expect to vote on it. So, we've had a lot of input, and I think it's time. I think Gene is, from the law department, has just reviewed the last paragraph, and he sent some feedback, but I'm hoping that we can get this one accomplished at our March meeting. So thank you, Mr. Drake. Liaison reports. I don't have any checked off. If I'm missing anything, please speak up. Special project teams? Nothing. New business? Old business? Approval of BET minutes for January 25th, 2016? Oh.
Antonio, Jamie, please come to the front desk. Antonio, Fernando, and Jamie, please come to the front desk. Thank you.
Timing is everything.
So I move the minutes of January 25th. Approval.
Okay, all those in favor? Opposed? Abstaining? 12-0-0. Mr. Drake, do you have anything else?
No, nothing further to add, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Norton?
I think, Mr. Chairman, it's almost getting time for my painkillers to take effect.
For those of you in TV land, that's Mr. Norton's code for that he's going away on vacation, and why some of us are struggling over a difficult budget. We get emailed pictures of his cocktails on a Caribbean setting, and it's very disappointing.
It's very disappointing.
Chairman's report, obviously, I want to thank everybody. The Budget Committee has had 100% participation at all of our meetings, which is amazing. RTM has had some members in and out, and I hope we continue that. Just as a reminder, we have 2 days this week, and then we work our way towards the end of next week for what we call Consolidation Day, and then we kind of digest over the weekend, and we start decision time. So I really appreciate everybody's work. This is now the final time, right now, for all of us to work with our budget committee members to get them any questions or concerns, or, we're in the final stages. The next 2 days are the regular deliberations, but after that, that's all I have. So,
Second?
all those in favor? Wow, that was quick.
Some kind of